In 1925, Rolls-Royce introduced a car so revolutionary, so perfectly engineered, that its name would survive for the next 100 years. The Phantom. Now, a century later, Rolls-Royce has created something that even their wealthiest clients have never seen before. 25 identical cars, each costing 3 million euros, each containing over 40,000 hours of human craftsmanship. The Phantom Centenary Private Collection. And every single one sold before the public ever laid eyes on it. If you're fascinated by automotive excellence and want to see more of the world's most exclusive vehicles, subscribe now, because we're just getting started. Let me be direct with you. This isn't just another luxury car review. What Rolls-Royce has created with the Phantom Centenary Private Collection goes beyond anything you've seen before, and I've spent weeks researching every detail so you can understand exactly what makes this vehicle worth 3 million euros. The Phantom nameplate is the longest running car name in automotive history. 100 years, 8 generations. From 1925 to today, the Phantom has represented the absolute pinnacle of automotive luxury. But this isn't a history lesson. This is about what happens when Rolls-Royce decides to celebrate that century with something so exclusive that even billionaires couldn't get on the waiting list fast enough. 25 cars. That's it. All identical. All sold through private commission before anyone outside the company saw them. No configurator. No options list. No customization. If you were invited to purchase one of these cars, you got exactly what Rolls-Royce created. Nothing more. Nothing less. So what did 3 years of development and over 40,000 hours of work actually produce? Let's start with what you see first. The Spirit of Ecstasy. You know this hood ornament. Everyone knows it. But the one on the Centenary Collection isn't the standard stainless steel version. It's 18-karat solid gold, plated in 24-karat gold, and it carries a hallmark from the London Assay Office that reads Phantom Centenary. This isn't decoration. This is a statement that this car exists in a category of its own. The casting itself is based on the original 1925 Phantom design. Rolls-Royce went back to their archives, found the original molds, and recreated the Spirit of Ecstasy exactly as it appeared when the Phantom name was born. But they didn't stop there. Every Rolls-Royce badge on this car, front, rear, and sides, is rendered in gold and white enamel. Not chrome, not standard badging, gold and white enamel. Now let's talk about the paint, because this is where things get interesting. The Centenary Collection uses a two-tone scheme that Rolls-Royce calls Super Champagne Crystal over Arctic White on the lower body, and Super Champagne Crystal over black on the upper body. This isn't a simple two-tone paint job. The Champagne Crystal finish contains actual crystal particles that catch light differently depending on the angle. Stand in front of this car at sunset, and it looks like liquid gold. See it under showroom lights, and it shifts to a warm cream. This is paint as art. The wheels deserve their own discussion. Each disc wheel is engraved with 25 individual lines, one line for each car in the collection. Multiply that by 4 wheels, and you get 100 lines total, representing the 100 years of the Phantom nameplate. This level of detail, this obsession with symbolism, this is what separates Rolls-Royce from every other luxury manufacturer. But here's what you need to understand. Everything I've just described, the gold Spirit of Ecstasy, the crystal paint, the engraved wheels, that's just the exterior. The real story is what happens when you open the door. The Phantom Centenary Private Collection introduces something Rolls-Royce has never done before: 3-dimensional marquetry. Let me explain what that means, because this isn't standard wood veneer. Each door contains 50 individual pieces of blackwood veneer. These pieces are laser etched at multiple depths, creating a 3-dimensional relief. Then, ink is layered into the etched areas. Then, gold leaf is inlaid by hand. The result is a door panel that looks like a sculpture, not a flat surface. The design itself depicts the Phantom's journey through time. You see silhouettes of all 8 Phantom generations. From the 1925 original to the current Phantom 8. You see the Rolls-Royce factory. You see the spirit of ecstasy in various poses. And all of this is created through wood, ink, and gold leaf. No paint, no decals, just traditional craftsmanship pushed to its absolute limit. This process took Rolls-Royce's Bespoke collective 3 years to perfect. 3 years to figure out how to create depth in wood veneer. 3 years to develop the laser etching technique. 3 years to train artisans to apply gold leaf with the precision required. And the result is something you won't find in any other car, at any price. Now let's move to the rear seats, because this is where Rolls-Royce really shows what they're capable of. The rear seat embroidery in the Centenary Collection required 77 hand-drawn sketches. These sketches were translated into 45 individually cut leather panels. And then, using techniques borrowed from Savile Row tailors, Rolls-Royce artisans stitched these panels together using between 160,000 and 440,000 stitches per seat. Think about that number for a moment, 440,000 stitches in a single seat. This isn't machine embroidery. This is hand-guided stitching, where every needle placement matters, where every thread tension must be perfect, where a single mistake means starting over. The design depicts the Phantom's heritage through symbolic imagery. You see the mulberry tree from the Rolls-Royce estate. You see bees from the Rolls-Royce apiary, which the company maintains at their Goodwood facility. You see the Phantom rose, a flower specifically cultivated for Rolls-Royce. And all of this is rendered in thread, on leather, with a level of detail that most people will never notice unless they're specifically looking for it. That's the point. Rolls-Royce doesn't create these details for Instagram photos. They create them for the owner, who will spend hundreds of hours in the back seat of this car and will gradually discover new elements, new symbols, new layers of craftsmanship over years of ownership. The front seats continue this obsession with detail. They're laser etched with blueprints from significant Phantom milestones throughout the nameplate's history. You see technical drawings. You see engineering specifications. You see the evolution of the Phantom's design language, all etched into the leather you sit on. This is the kind of detail that most manufacturers would put in a brochure. Rolls-Royce puts it in the seats. But we're not done yet, because we haven't talked about the Starlight headliner. Every Rolls-Royce can be optioned with a Starlight headliner, where fiber optic lights are woven into the roof lining to create the appearance of a night sky. But the Centenary Collection takes this concept and transforms it into something else entirely. The headliner in these 25 cars contains the same 440,000 stitches used in the rear seats. But instead of just creating a pattern, Rolls-Royce used these stitches to depict a constellation. Not a random constellation, a specific constellation that includes the mulberry tree, the bees, and the Phantom rose. The same symbols from the rear seats, now rendered in thread and fiber optics above your head. When you activate the Starlight headliner at night, you don't just see stars. You see a story. You see Rolls-Royce's history illuminated above you. And this is what 3 million euros buys. Not just luxury, not just exclusivity, but narrative. Every surface in this car tells part of the Phantom's 100-year story. Now let's talk about something called the anthology gallery, because this might be the most ambitious element of the entire car. The anthology gallery is located on the dashboard, where most Rolls-Royces have the gallery space for displaying art or personal items. In the Centenary Collection, this space contains 50 three-dimensionally printed aluminum fins. Each fin is individually sculpted with letters that, when viewed together, form quotes from a century of press acclaim for the Phantom. Automotive journalists from 1925 to 2025, all praising the Phantom's engineering, its silence, its presence. And Rolls-Royce took these quotes, broke them into individual letters, sculpted each letter in aluminum, and arranged them so that they create both a visual sculpture and a readable text. This required custom three-dimensional printing technology. It required new finishing techniques to give the aluminum the right texture. It required typography experts to ensure the letters remained legible while also functioning as sculptural elements. And the result is something that looks like modern art, but is actually a historical document. Under the hood, you'll find the same 6.75-liter V12 engine that powers the standard Phantom 8. 563 horsepower, 2.5 tons of weight. But in the Centenary Collection, the engine cover is Arctic white, with detailing in 24-karat gold. Because even the parts you rarely see must reflect the car's exclusivity. This engine represents the pinnacle of Rolls-Royce's engineering philosophy. It's not about raw power. It's about effortless delivery. You press the accelerator, and the car moves forward with the inevitability of a glacier. No drama, no noise, just relentless, unstoppable forward motion. This is what Claude Johnson, the man who named the Phantom in 1925, called superlative poise and quietude. That phrase, superlative poise and quietude, has defined every Phantom for a century. The car doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. When you see a Phantom, you know what it is. When you hear a Phantom, you hear almost nothing. When you ride in a Phantom, you feel like you're floating above the road, insulated from the chaos of the world outside. The Centenary Collection amplifies this philosophy. Every detail, from the gold spirit of ecstasy to the embroidered seats to the anthology gallery, reinforces the idea that this car exists in a different category. Not just more expensive, not just more exclusive, but fundamentally different in its approach to what a car can be. Let's address the obvious question. Is this car worth 3 million euros? That depends entirely on what you value. If you're looking at this from a pure performance perspective, absolutely not. You can buy multiple Bugattis for this price. You can buy a small fleet of Ferraris. You can buy hypercars that will destroy this Phantom in any measurable performance metric. But that's not the point. The Phantom Centenary Private Collection isn't competing with hypercars. It's not trying to be the fastest or the most powerful. It's trying to be the most meticulously crafted, the most symbolically rich, the most historically significant. And in that category, it has no competition. Think about what 40,000 hours of development actually means. That's over 4.5 years of continuous work. That's teams of designers, engineers, and artisans dedicating their entire professional lives to perfecting every detail of this car. That's Rolls-Royce saying, we don't care how long it takes or how much it costs. We're going to create something that represents a century of the Phantom nameplate. And here's what's remarkable. All 25 cars are identical. In a world where ultra-wealthy clients demand customization, where every billionaire wants their car to be unique, Rolls-Royce said no. If you want a Centenary Collection Phantom, you get exactly what we created. No changes, no options, no personalization. This is the ultimate expression of confidence. Rolls-Royce is saying, we know what this car should be, and we're not going to compromise that vision, even for 3 million euros. And the fact that all 25 sold before anyone saw them proves that the world's wealthiest collectors agreed. Who bought these cars? Rolls-Royce won't say. They never do. But we can make educated guesses. These are collectors who already own multiple Rolls-Royces. These are people who understand the historical significance of the Phantom nameplate. These are individuals for whom 3 million euros is not a financial burden, but an investment in automotive history. Because that's what this car really is. It's not transportation. It's not even luxury in the traditional sense. It's a rolling museum, a three-dimensional archive of everything Rolls-Royce has learned about craftsmanship over the past century, and it's limited to 25 examples, ensuring that it will remain one of the rarest Rolls-Royces ever created. The Phantom nameplate has survived for 100 years because it has consistently represented the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in automotive manufacturing. From the 1925 Phantom 1, which replaced the legendary Silver Ghost, to the current Phantom 8, which uses aluminum space frame construction and modern technology, the Phantom has always been about pushing boundaries while maintaining the core values of silence, presence, and craftsmanship. The Centenary Private Collection takes those values and amplifies them to a level that Even Rolls-Royce has never attempted before. It's not just a special edition. It's not just a limited run. It's a statement that after 100 years, Rolls-Royce still knows how to create something that makes the world's wealthiest collectors stop and take notice. And here's what you need to understand about Rolls-Royce. They don't need to create cars like this. The standard Phantom 8 sells perfectly well. Their SUV, the Cullinan, is wildly successful. The Ghost and the Spectre are bringing in new customers. Rolls-Royce is not struggling. They're thriving. But they created the Centenary Collection anyway, because some things matter more than profit margins. Some things matter more than quarterly sales figures. Sometimes a company needs to remind the world why they exist, what they stand for, what they're capable of when they're not constrained by normal business considerations. That's what the Phantom Centenary Private Collection represents. It's Rolls-Royce saying, after 100 years, we're still the standard by which all other luxury cars are judged. We're still capable of creating things that nobody else can match. We're still relevant, still innovative, still the pinnacle. And they proved it by selling all 25 cars before anyone outside the company saw them. They proved it by spending 40,000 hours on development. They proved it by creating three-dimensional marquetry, by hand-stitching 440,000 stitches into seats, by sculpting aluminum fins with quotes from a century of automotive journalism. This is what 3 million euros buys. Not just a car, not just luxury, but a piece of automotive history. A rolling testament to what's possible when craftsmanship matters more than cost, when heritage matters more than hype, when excellence matters more than efficiency. The Phantom Centenary Private Collection will never be common. You'll probably never see one in person. The 25 owners will keep them in climate-controlled garages, bring them out for special occasions, and eventually pass them down to their children as family heirlooms. These cars will appreciate in value, not because they're fast or rare, but because they represent a moment in time when Rolls-Royce created something truly extraordinary. And that's the real story here. Not the price, not the exclusivity, but the fact that in 2025, a company still exists that's willing to spend 3 years and 40,000 hours creating something that only 25 people will ever own. That's what makes Rolls-Royce different. That's what makes the Phantom Centenary Private Collection worth 3 million euros. Because in a world of mass production, of cost optimization, of quarterly earnings reports, Rolls-Royce still believes that some things should be made the hard way, the slow way, the expensive way, the right way. And the Phantom Centenary Private Collection is proof that they're still capable of doing exactly that. The Rolls-Royce Phantom Centenary Private Collection represents something we rarely see anymore. Pure, uncompromising craftsmanship. 3 million euros. 25 cars, 40,000 hours of development, and every single one sold before the world even knew they existed. If you found this deep dive into automotive excellence valuable, I need you to do 2 things. First, subscribe to this channel because we're going to continue exploring the world's most exclusive vehicles. Second, watch this video next where we break down another automotive masterpiece that pushes the boundaries of what's possible. The link is on your screen right now. I'll see you there.